Cruise news time. Well, yesterday, Royal Caribbean blew the roof off of cruise news here in North America with a big announcement that they would be restarting cruises from the Caribbean in June of 2021. Cruising restarting in North America on a major cruise line in just a few months, and it begs a few questions. First, what are the details? I put out a little short video just highlighting the announcement, but what are the deets? And secondly, who's this cruise even for? Is it for you? There's a lot of stuff you might not know. I got that info for you. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, today we're going to focus on Royal's big announcement of the restart of cruising in North America from Nassau in the Bahamas. Let's talk about all the details. First, what is the ship? The ship is the Adventure of the Seas. She was built in 2001 and refurbished in 2018, part of the Voyager class over there on Royal. She can hold 3,100 passengers, and she certainly won't sail with 3,100 passengers. More of that later. And she joins two other Royal Caribbean ships that will be in service by the time she gets started. Most notably, the Quantum of the Seas, doing cruises to nowhere in Singapore since December of 2020. And then soon to come online, the Odyssey of the Seas, doing Mediterranean sailings out of Haifa, Israel. Now, I mentioned ship capacity. Let's look at the Quantum of the Seas. Quantum of the Seas sailing at 50% capacity. They're currently in talks with the Singapore government to get that up to 65% capacity, but maybe we can use 50% capacity as a baseline for the Adventure of the Seas. And so if she holds 3,100 passengers and they go out at 50% capacity, that would be 1,550 passengers. So there's going to be a limited amount of space on this cruise ship. So we're talking about a good-sized cruise ship built 20 years ago, carrying around close to 1,600 passengers on a 7-day cruise on an itinerary that includes stops in the Western Caribbean. Of course, the cruise will leave from Nassau. There will be stops at Grand Bahama. There will be a stop in Cozumel, and then there will be 2 days at Coco Cay. Royal able to leverage their private island experience there at Coco Cay, and I've heard from a lot of people that that's great, that people love Coco Cay. A big date to keep in mind is March the 24th. That is the day that these itineraries, these sailings, these cruises will be available to book from Royal Caribbean. And so that's one of the reasons I'm putting out this very detailed video right now, because you've got just a few days to get all of your ducks in a row if you plan to take this cruise. Let's talk a little bit about what the requirements to get on this cruise is. The Bahamas are pretty open from an international travel perspective. I looked at their immigration webpage. It seems fairly straightforward for U.S. citizens as long as you follow the rules of the United States for leaving the United States and returning to the United States. You can get into the Bahamas just with a passport. That's true for many of the countries around the world. There is no vaccine requirement to get into the Bahamas. Interestingly, there's a yellow fever vaccination requirement for countries where yellow fever is prevalent. And so there is a little bit of that's not the United States. I do say all that just to say that cruisers from the United States are not going to be the only people that are vying for these cruises that open up for booking on March the 24th. I really think these cruises are going to sell out quickly. So these cruises are open to international travelers. For people coming from the United States, how would you get there? There's actually a couple modes of transportation that you can use to get to the Bahamas. Of course, you can fly into the Bahamas. There are a lot of airlines that offer direct flights to the Bahamas, a lot of different cities that you can go from. Let me tell you about the airlines. American Airlines, Bahama Air, Delta, JetBlue, Silver Airways, Southwest, and United all have direct flights into Nassau. And here are some of the major cities that you can fly from: Boston, Miami, Charlotte, LaGuardia Airport in New York, Chicago, Philly, Dallas, Fort Worth, airports in Washington, D.C., Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Denver, Houston, Newark, Minneapolis, and Tampa. Silver Airways is the one that flies out of Tampa. I did model a price for flying down to the Bahamas in July, and it was about $5 $500 per person all in. So not bad. But look, if you don't want to fly, you can actually take a ferry from South Florida to the Bahamas. Fort Lauderdale offers a ferry once a week going to the Bahamas. There's also another ferry service in Miami that goes to the Bahamas. I modeled out the first week in July for ferry service from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas. It was about $800 per person, but I noticed that further on in the month of July, that price dropped in half. So maybe because it's the 4th of July, I'm not sure what that first week really, why that price spiked up. But yeah, so if you could take a ferry down there, but you have to get all the way to South Florida to take a ferry. But interesting that you're not limited to flying. All right, let's move on. Let's talk health protocols. Before we get there, let me quickly invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to stay up to date with all of this information and all of this fun, be a part of this virtual community, subscribe with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these updates. Thanks in advance. Let's talk about health protocols. There is a vaccine mandate on this cruise. Crew members have to be vaccinated, and adults 18 years and older have to show proof of vaccination. Now, kids are allowed on this cruise. Any passengers who are under 18 have to submit to a PCR COVID test prior to taking this cruise. And taking that at face value, it may seem like the vaccinated people do not need a test to get on this cruise. Well, to get entry into the Bahamas, you have to have a negative COVID test 5 days before coming to the Bahamas. And then on top of that, if you fly from the United States to the Bahamas, to get back into the United States, you also have to have a negative COVID test before you board your flight going back to the United States. So there is mandatory vaccination, and there will be mandatory testing, not only to get to your cruise, but also to get back from your cruise. I haven't seen any details yet whether the cruise will be offering testing prior to flying back to the United States, or how that's going to work. Because if you don't get the test on the cruise, it sounds like you would have to get the test in the Bahamas, and I'm not sure the timing on that. Are you going to have to spend a couple extra days in the Bahamas for that? That's still a question that needs to be answered. Other health protocols that will be in play for Royal Caribbean: there will be short excursions in Cozumel, in Grand Bahama, but those will be ship-only short excursions. You will not be able to explore the port on your own. They're going to keep you in their own Royal Caribbean cruise bubble when you go on short excursions. And then the variety of other health protocols, the masking protocol still in place on this cruise, same protocols that they're using on the Quantum of the Seas. So who is this cruise for? So for me, I think this cruise would be easy for people who already fly when they go cruising. This is just a flight to a different destination. The flight from Florida is super short, like an hour to get down to the Bahamas. The ferry doesn't take that long. It's about 4 hours. And so really anybody that's usually flying south or flying to a cruise port on the West Coast, this will be just about an extra hour added to your travel time. So I think people that normally fly, that normally have the expense of flying in their cruise budget, this won't be a big deal for. And then of course the big category, the people who are okay with vaccination and health protocols. People who aren't, I would assume, would have a really big problem with this cruise. It's going to be interesting on the 24th to see what the pricing is. I really do think that these cruises will sell out quickly. So if you have some desire to get on one of these cruises, make sure that you are ready with your travel professional, your travel agent, or make sure you're ready to jump online on the 24th and get this cruise booked. Jenny and I are still on the fence whether we're going to try to get on one of these cruises. Hopefully we're getting vaccinated in the next couple weeks, so I don't think that would be a problem. We just have to decide whether we want to take that short flight from Florida down to the Bahamas. I tell you what, it's super tempting. It sounds exciting. Boom, that's your cruise news and the question today. Would you take this cruise? Is this cruise for you, or will you be waiting for a different cruise option? Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.